You're listening to what used to be a public radio station just outside of what used to be Chicago. The board's running on backup, the tower's iffy, and the air smells like dust, ozone, and melted plastic. But I'm still here. And if you're hearing this, if you're still out there, then maybe we're not entirely gone yet. I was in the middle of a routine segment when it happened, reading a list of missing pets, of all things. A tabby named Ginger, a German shepherd, with a limp, one goldfish. I didn't ask how. Then the signal cut. Clean, no static, no fade, just gone, like someone had pulled the thread out of the broadcast mid-sentence. I thought it was the board at first, or the power. But everything in the booth was still lit. Everything else was dead quiet. Then the tones came through. You know that long, droning emergency alert sound? Everyone's heard it at least once, usually followed by a calm voice explaining, "There's a tornado warning or a flash flood somewhere you'll never drive through." But this one was different. It wasn't weather, and it wasn't local. It wasn't even human. It was deeper, cleaner, sharper than anything I'd ever heard on these channels. Not a tone so much as a presence. It wasn't asking for attention. It was taking it. And then the message began. At first, I couldn't understand the voice. It was too layered, like a choir whispering in sync or a cathedral's echo reading itself aloud. But after a few seconds, it smoothed into something could comprehend, not because it spoke English, but because it didn't need to. The words didn't enter my ears. They pressed directly into my mind. I could feel them. They didn't vibrate the air. They vibrated me. This world has been observed, deemed unstable. Correction is imminent. Protocol Eden Recall is active. That was it. 4 lines, repeated over and over again. No location, no instructions, just that announcement, cold and immaculate as if Earth were a file on a screen and someone had right-clicked it, and then, like someone flipping a switch, the broadcast returned. My voice cut back in mid-word. I was saying collar for the missing dog when I realized I couldn't feel my hands. It wasn't fear. Not yet. It was something stranger. A sensation like reality had shifted beneath me, like the table was. Still set, but the floor underneath had dropped 2 inches. Nothing looked different, but it felt different. Heavier. More watched. I called a few people I still had on my emergency list. Only 2 answered. One of them, a guy who used to work as a satellite tech for NOAA, was already packing his car, said he'd heard the tone on every open frequency, including military bands. That got my attention. The other voice belonged to Pastor Elaine from the Hill Church just east of the station. She didn't say anything for a long time, just breathed. Then she said, "It's here, Cal. Not a god, not a devil. Just something very old that was waiting to be disappointed." That's what she said. I wrote it down. I don't know what Protocol Eden Recall means. No one does. But I think we're about to find out. And I don't think it's a warning. I think it's a decision. One that's already been made. Maybe long before we were ever born. Maybe we were the last ones to get the memo. If this is a correction, then what does that make us? An error? I'll keep talking. I always do. Until the booth goes dark or the sky comes down or whatever's up there finishes what it started. If you're still listening, stay where you are. Don't answer any messages you can't trace. Don't look directly at anything too still. And whatever you do, if you hear the tone again, don't listen too long. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. Just sat here in the booth, watching the monitor glow and trying to decide if I should keep broadcasting or start writing my will. Every few minutes I'd think about stepping outside to see if anything had changed. If maybe the world had gone back to normal and all this could be explained away by some massive glitch or some secret government test. But then I'd remember that voice. Not even a voice, really. That presence. The message that didn't just talk to me, but through me. like something reaching down inside and tugging on a string I didn't know was there. I left the radio on the background band. The low-end receiver looped into everything from airport towers to emergency frequencies. I figured maybe I'd pick. I'll do up a clue. I didn't expect to get the voice again. But I did. At exactly 4:44 a.m., every band, weather, AM, FM, shortwave, all of them, cut out at once. No preamble, no static, just that sudden silence again, like the air itself had gone hollow, and then it returned. Not just on the radios, but in the walls, in the floor. The booth thrummed with it, like a heartbeat in reverse. It introduced itself this time. Dominion level Steward Alpha, assigned to Catalog Terrasector. Condition degenerated. Status irredeemable. Begin Phase 1 dismantling. Do not resist. That was the message. And it repeated, word for word, with a kind of awful calmness, like a bureaucrat reading from a checklist. Not angry, not righteous, just efficient. It wasn't a threat. That's what struck me most. There was no heat to it, no fire, no fury, just the announcement. Cold. Final. I don't know what I expected if heaven ever spoke. Choirs, maybe. Trumpets. Something grand and beautiful. But this wasn't beauty. This was function. This was a system running its cleanup protocol. Like Earth was a failed draft in a forgotten drawer, and someone up there finally decided to throw it out. I think I sat in silence for a full hour after that, just letting the words echo around in my head. Dismantling. Phase 1. Do not resist. People heard it. Not just on radios, phones picked it up, refrigerators, car speakers, anything with a speaker or a wire. A woman called in earlier, panicked, saying she heard it come through her baby monitor, even though it wasn't plugged in, said the crib shook, just slightly, like something had passed through the air above it. Another guy claimed it came through. His teeth, he's got some kind of metal plate in his jaw from a car accident years ago, and he swore he could feel the message before he heard it. Like pressure, like being submerged. I believed them. What do you do when you realize the universe is paying attention to you, and it doesn't like what it sees? Not hate, not judgment, just disappointment. Like we failed some test we didn't know we were taking, and now we don't get a second try. A few listeners still call in, the ones who haven't left, or frozen up, or gone silent. One woman, Mara, told me she and her family are holed up in an old church in Kankakee. They sealed the windows and covered the crosses. She said the air feels thicker every hour. Not humid, just denser. Like whatever's coming is pressing in on the world from above and it's getting closer by the minute. Someone else, I don't know his name, he just called himself the Archivist, said he's cataloging voices. Old voicemails, letters, song lyrics. He said, if it's going to erase us, I want to at least confuse it first, make it work for it. I like that, but not everyone's taking it well. I got a call, short, just a few seconds, from a man who whispered, they started with the hospitals. Then he hung up, tried to call back, but the line was dead. Maybe he meant people vanished. Or maybe they were dismantled. Whatever that means. But it makes sense in a sick way. If you wanted to shut a system down, you'd start with the places that fix the broken parts first. The lights in the station flicker now, sometimes in rhythm with my voice. That never used to happen. And there's a hum in the air that matches the tone from the proclamation, just low enough that I feel it in my teeth but not my ears, like it's tuning something inside me. I've started repeating words without meaning to, saying catalog under my breath, or prepare. I don't know if it's stress or if something's sinking with me. I'm going to stay on air as long as I can. That's my promise to you, whoever's left. As long as I can still form a sentence, I'll be here, speaking into the void. Just in case someone else is out there holding on to the sound of a human voice. Because if this is what comes after, the test is failed. If this is the cleanup, then I want you to know, we were messy, sure. We were cruel, but we were alive. And they don't understand that, not the way we did. They don't understand what it meant to be us. I keep coming back to that. Ever since the voice, Dominion level whatever, declared us a failure, I've been trying to figure out what they missed. What box we didn't tick. Was it the violence? The pollution? The wars? Or was it something simpler? Something colder? Like we didn't meet their efficiency metrics? Or we were too chaotic to model? Maybe they weren't looking for goodness. Maybe they were looking for symmetry. And we've never been symmetrical. I thought the proclamation would be the end of it. Just the voice, and then whatever happened would happen all at once. Some flash, some judgment. But no, they're taking us apart in stages, like disassembling a machine, slow and quiet and methodical. It started with the rain. I don't even know if you can call it that. I woke up, if you can call it waking up when you only drift in and out now, to this low hissing against the window. I thought maybe a storm had rolled in, even though the sky was clear the night before. But when I looked out, the world wasn't wet, the street wasn't slick, there were no puddles, no sound of falling drops, just this movement in the air, like dust or ash or mist, too fine to see until it touches something. I stepped outside, not far, just onto the concrete out front. It didn't feel like water, didn't feel like anything really, but I saw it falling. Thin white strands, light, as hair drifting downward. Not from clouds, there weren't any. It was like the sky itself was weeping filament. Not warm, not cold, just there. And then I saw the squirrel. It was across the lot, standing still in the middle of the parking lines. Its tail hung limp, eyes wide, unblinking. I watched for a good 2 minutes. It didn't twitch, didn't breathe. The white strands were catching on its fur, webbing across its shoulders. But it didn't react. It was like it had been paused. Not dead, not frozen in ice, just halted. Like the code running it had been deleted mid-function. I backed inside, fast, shut the door, watched through the glass as the rain fell silently and the world held its breath. Calls started coming in an hour later, sparse, shaky. A woman said her dog had stopped mid-run in the backyard, one paw lifted, head turned, just still. She tried to move him, but his body wouldn't budge, like something had locked every muscle in place. A kid, barely old enough to speak, muttered into the phone that his sister was stuck in the rain. When I asked what that meant, he said she couldn't move, even though she looked awake. She was smiling, but she wouldn't blink. That's when it clicked. The rain doesn't kill, it edits. Whatever it touches, it removes from reality. Not physically, but functionally. Like turning off the physics for a specific object in a game. The squirrel, the girl, the dog, they're still there, but they're no longer active, no longer rendered fully. The process isn't violent, it's not dramatic, it's almost peaceful in how clinical it is. That's worse somehow. The white strands started collecting along the eaves of the station. I've kept the vents shut, taped up the windows. We've got filters on the intake fans now, lined with whatever cloth we could find. I haven't seen a person on foot since yesterday. Just cars stopped in the middle of the road, doors open, headlights dead. Some with drivers inside, hands still on the wheel, eyes pointed at nothing. Stuck mid-turn or mid-thought. There's no smell, no heat, no decay. The white rain just falls, and whatever it touches is set aside. And it's spreading. I've been tracking reports, at least the ones that still come through. It started in isolated spots like test zones, but now it's sweeping wider. Cities are vanishing from radio chatter. Entire regions going silent. Not screaming, not calling for help. Just going quiet. And above it all, the sky hasn't changed. Still clear, still soft blue, no clouds, no sunspots, but I can feel it watching. Not the sun, the thing behind. The sun. The system. The one that's reading us like a corrupted file, scanning, deleting, backing up what little it thinks is worth keeping. That's what it feels like. A backup. Like this white rain is pulling threads from the world, saving them to some impossible archive where nothing changes and nothing evolves. Just preservation without purpose. Eternal stasis. You ever think about what a museum really is? It's not memory, it's a warning. A place where things go once they've stopped being part of the present. We're being curated. Not because we matter, but because we're already obsolete. And I don't think it's done yet. This is just the first sweep. So, if you're hearing this, if you're still in motion, still breathing, still making your own decisions, don't. Go outside. Don't stand under an open sky. If you see the white strands falling, seal the doors. Stay still. Not like them, not the way they were made to stay still. But quiet, alert, human. Because I think the rain is listening too. I've been sitting in this booth for I don't know how long anymore. There's no natural rhythm to mark time now. Clocks still tick, sure, but they feel more like toys now than instruments. The white rain has thinned out for now. Maybe it's moved on. Maybe it's circling back. Maybe the system's waiting to see how we react. But what replaced it isn't better. Not even close. They arrived last night. Or, I guess they didn't arrive because they didn't come from anywhere. There was no descent, no entry. They were just there. At first, I thought it was a star, just one, low in the horizon, brighter than the others, but still. Then there were 3, then 7, each of them perfectly round, unmoving, white, not glowing, not flickering, just light, geometrically flawless, hovering in place above the town, high enough to make your neck ache but low enough to see their edges were too clean, too deliberate. You could tell they weren't natural because they didn't cast shadows. They didn't reflect. They just sat there as if they'd always been there and we'd only now been allowed to see them. And they didn't make a sound. Not a hum, not a buzz. Nothing. You'd think something so bright, so alien would have presence, would buzz in your bones, or send out pulses, or shake the air. But this light is different. It doesn't push against you, it replaces you. When you look at it too long, you feel your thoughts start to lose weight, like language becomes unnecessary, like your identity becomes optional. I stayed out there too long. I only meant to peek. Just a quick look through the upstairs window to see if the reports were real. But then I saw it hovering above the water tower, and I just couldn't look away. Not at first. There's something about it, something that makes your body forget fear. Not because it's safe, because it's inevitable. I don't remember walking away from the window. Just that at some point I was back in the booth, my mouth dry, my fingers numb, like I'd stepped out of sync for a little while and only barely made it back in. Other people saw them too. The phones lit up for a bit, one after another. People whispering, gasping, describing exactly what I saw. Lights that don't move, don't hum, don't interact. Just observe. And everything below them goes dead. Not gone, not erased like the white rain does. Just unresponsive. Like the space beneath those lights becomes inert. GPS signals glitch out. Engines stall. Radios fuzz. Even animals freeze in place. Not like the rain, not paused, just cautious, flattened. Birds land and don't take off again. Dogs lie down and refuse to move. Even insects go silent. One caller said their reflection stopped matching them after the light appeared above their house. He moved his hand, and his reflection didn't. Just stared. Then he blinked, and his reflection didn't. And he ran. I don't blame him. Mirrors have always made me uneasy. They're too trusting. They reflect everything without question, without resistance. And now they're not reflecting at all. I tried it myself. Here, in the break room mirror. Looked straight into it, face to face. For the first few seconds, it was fine. Then, just for a breath, I saw the booth behind me, empty. No chair, no mic, just the blinking light of the transmitter, no me. And then it snapped back. I haven't looked since. There's this theory. Used to be fringe science. Now it feels like prophecy. That reality only persists when observed. That matter, at its core, behaves like probability until something forces it to collapse into being. Maybe these lights, these watchers, are collapsing us. Not into destruction, but into their version of what's real. Rewriting our physics, our energy, our definition of alive. Maybe that's what the voice meant by correction. Not fire, not brimstone, just redesign. And if that's true, then maybe the people under those lights aren't gone. Maybe they've just been converted. I saw a man today, early morning, just after the last of the white drift faded, walking down the center of Main Street. Shirtless, barefoot, arms stiff at his sides, face turned directly upward into the light. He didn't blink, didn't breathe, as far as I could tell, just walked, slowly, directly beneath one of those perfect hovering discs. I wanted to call out, but I didn't, because some part of me knew. He couldn't hear anymore. Not me, not himself. He wasn't walking toward anything. He was already inside it. I've shut every curtain now, covered the windows. Anything that lets that light in, even a sliver, is a risk. It's not just watching. It's measuring, calculating, making decisions based on things we don't even know how to name. So, if you're listening, if your sky is still dark, or your town hasn't drawn their attention yet, do not look at the lights. Don't study them. Don't test them. They are not stars. They are not machines. They are the eyes of a system that stopped seeing us as meaningful long ago. And they don't blink. They don't blink. That part haunts me more than I expected. Not because it's unnatural, but because it's so final. Things that blink are alive, organic, fallible. They falter, pause, reconsider. But these lights, those eyes in the sky, they never stop, never shift. They don't get tired. They just process. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that's exactly what they're doing. Processing, reviewing, auditing. It started subtly, like everything else. Not with thunder or fire, but with small distortions. Snippets of old broadcasts bleeding through the signal. At first, I thought it was interference. This board is decades old. Sometimes it coughs up old station IDs or dead air bleed from neighboring frequencies. But this wasn't that. This was voices. Familiar. Ones, but not mine. Not anyone living. Last night, just after 3, I was reading a list of towns that had gone quiet when the board buzzed. Short, sharp, unnatural, and I heard a voice layered under mine. Just for a second. It was grainy, like it had been pulled from a cassette tape left in the sun. But the voice was saying the same words I was reading, only slightly off, like it remembered them differently, like it was correcting me. Then came the sermons. I don't play religious content on here, never had the license. But today, out of nowhere, the system fed a voice through the emergency band. Calm, measured, male. Familiar in that generic public access preacher sort of way. His voice came through with that old crackling echo like it was bouncing off cathedral walls. He said, "The word was given, but it was never followed. The truth was spoken, but only as performance. We have heard every promise, and we have tallied every lie. Your ratio is unsalvageable." Then silence. Then again, that phrase from before, "Do not resist." I'm beginning to think this isn't a judgment in the way we imagined. It's not about sin. It's not moral. It's administrative. These watchers, this dominion-level steward, whatever it is, it's reviewing every word we've ever spoken, every broadcast, every sermon, every declaration of belief or law or principle. It's running a diagnostic on our language, our intentions. It's compiling a record of what we said versus what we did, and the results aren't good. I started digging into old logs here at the station, archived calls, public service announcements, even the old local government segments we used to run, once a week. I played them back and something strange started happening. In the background of each, hidden under static or tape hiss, were phrases that hadn't been there before. Tiny, whispered corrections. Someone says, "We promise to serve our community." And under it, faintly, false. A voice from a decade ago. We've learned from our mistakes. Underneath, unverified. It's like the system is tagging every inconsistency, redlining our entire existence, and it's not just official broadcasts. People are hearing their own voices now. Messages they left for loved ones, arguments they thought were private, even things they only whispered in moments of desperation. One woman emailed the station. She said her voicemail box played back, a fight with her ex that she'd never recorded. It ended with a tone and a new message. This conversation has been logged, pattern consistent with systemic failure. I don't know how much longer we can speak without being marked. It's like every word we say is being weighed, not for meaning, but for fidelity. Not truth, exactly, but alignment. Do we do what we say? Do we mean what we promise? And if we don't, if we never did, then maybe this audit is just the final step before deletion. I've started reading old letters on air now. Real ones, from people long gone. Postcards from soldiers, notes from grandparents, apologies scrawled in pencil on torn receipts. Not because I think it'll fix anything, but because they feel honest, raw. They weren't written to please or to convince. They were written to connect, and maybe connection is all we ever had worth saving. I don't know if it matters. I don't know if the voice audit is still listening, or if it already made its decision. But I'll keep talking. I'll keep sharing. What's left of our voice, our real voice. The one that cracked when we cried, the one that stumbled when we begged, the one that said, "I love you," even when it didn't know how. Because if we are being erased, I want someone, something, to know that we meant to be better, even if we didn't get there. I kept thinking about what I said, how maybe we meant to be better. That line's been sitting with me ever since, looping in my head like a broadcast stuck in its own echo. And maybe that's the most damning part of all this. That meaning, well, wasn't enough. That good intentions don't register when the system sweeping through our skies is cold, surgical, exact. It doesn't care what we meant, only what we made. And now, it's unmaking it. I saw it with my own eyes 2 days ago, when I tried to drive east toward the edge of town. I don't know why I went. Maybe I needed proof that the world still had borders, that the map still held. I thought maybe I'd find people, or wreckage, or at least something I could name. But I didn't find any of that. I found nothing, and not in the poetic sense. Not a ghost town or an empty street. I mean nothing. The road just stopped. No crater, no debris. Just this smooth white-gray surface stretching out in all directions. Not natural, too flat, too sterile, like the ground had been overwritten, like someone used a paint bucket tool on a landscape and forgot to add texture, and the air was hollow, like sound didn't travel the same way. I stepped forward, just 1 foot past the line where asphalt ended and the nothing began, and it felt like my breath got pulled inward, like the air was waiting to become something else. I didn't stay long. On the drive back, I passed a sign for a town that doesn't exist anymore. literally doesn't. No turnoff, no road. The sign pointed to emptiness. The buildings are gone. The idea of the place is gone. Even the dirt feels thinner there, like the memory of soil. A woman used to call from there. Anita always had a cat mewing in the background when she spoke. I checked my call logs. Her number's gone too. Not disconnected. Not out of service. Gone. Like it was never real. That's what they're doing. Not destroying. Not erasing in the way we understand it. They're uncreating, reversing the idea of a place, pulling it apart, cell by cell, memory by memory. And the people who lived there, if anyone's still in them, they're probably dissolving along with it. I got a shortwave message yesterday from a man who said his whole neighborhood had turned white. Not snow. Not ash. Just this blank, featureless terrain. His voice cracked when he said, "Even the mailbox disappeared. I reached for it and my hand kept going." He didn't call again. We're not just being audited. We're being reformatted. Like, the whole Earth is being run through some kind of divine quality control, and the parts that don't meet standard are being reset. Not improved, just wiped. Like we were a failed draft file in a system that doesn't keep backups. Like they gave us a version of reality and we filled it with too many errors, and now the system is rolling it back. It's not just places, either. It's history. I picked up a textbook from the high school library across the street. It was still unlocked, probably always will be now, and I flipped through it. Chapters were missing, not torn out, just absent. The table of contents skipped. Entire eras. Names were blanks. Sentences ended mid-thought. I went back the next day and the whole shelf was gone. Not empty. Just not there. There's this thing I keep thinking about. How a painting isn't just paint on canvas, it's layers. Brush over brush, mistake over correction. And you can strip it back, sure, clean it, retouch it. But if you keep going, eventually you just have blank canvas. That's what these zones are. The world with the layers stripped away, and they're spreading. Every time I pull up a satellite feed, what's left of them, I see the blank spots growing. Irregular shapes, no pattern. Not borders or coastlines, just these smooth voids, radiating. Outward like cracks in ice. The places where voices went quiet first. They're gone now, and there's no pain, no violence, just silence. Emptiness. Like the story stopped being told there. I think about what it'll feel like when it reaches here. When the booth disappears. When the tower vanishes. When the microphone in front of me becomes part of the blank. Will I notice? Will I feel myself go dim, or will I just stop being a problem? I don't know what to tell you. If you're listening, maybe your street's still real. Maybe your sky is still honest. Maybe you can still walk through your front door and not feel the air shift around you like a question being asked too loudly. But if you see the edges thinning, if the trees don't quite meet the sky the way they used to, don't go toward it. Don't test it, because that's not a boundary. That's an invitation. And they don't send invitations unless they already know you'll accept. I've been thinking about what people do at the end. Not the loud ones, the ones who panic, who run, who scream into the sky as if volume can stop whatever's coming. I mean the quiet ones, the people who pray. It started showing up in the calls a couple nights ago. Whispers. Desperate voices from dark corners of homes or churches or empty basements. People lighting candles and folding hands not out of hope, but out of instinct. Like muscle memory. Like maybe, just maybe, if someone is dismantling the world, they might listen to a plea not for survival, but for mercy. But mercy's not what came. One call in particular stuck with me. I recorded it. A man, older, rough voice, maybe Midwest, by the tone, called just to ask if I'd heard any change in the sky. He said they'd been praying. He and a dozen others gathered in what was left of St. Luke's. They'd been reciting the Lord's Prayer on loop for over an hour when something shifted. He said it started with the echo. Their voices came back to them wrong, slower, backward. One woman thought she'd just stuttered, but then they all heard it, the prayer being recited in reverse, not from their own mouths, from the walls, the pews, the air. Give us this day. Our daily bread became something else entirely, like the syllables were folding inward, like the meaning was being unwound as they spoke it. I asked him what they did after. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "We stopped, but the church didn't." He hung up before I could press him. A few hours later, someone else sent me a clip. A voice memo from a gathering in the South sounded like Mississippi. Dozens of people praying together in unison, and at first it was beautiful, in that eerie, fragile way that collective faith sometimes is. Then the audio started to twist. Not glitch, not distortion, something deeper. The voices thickened, slowed down mid-sentence, and then one by one dropped into silence, leaving only a low vibration behind, like the words themselves had been absorbed, swallowed. It's not that heaven didn't hear them, it's that it responded, not with compassion, not with fire, with correction. I've been thinking a lot about that word, correction. It keeps showing up in the broadcasts. Correction scheduled, correction in progress. But what does that mean, really? It's not punishment. It's not wrath. It's revision. Like someone going back through the margins of the world with a red pen and crossing out everything that didn't work, everything that didn't fit. And it turns out, most of what we are, our prayers, our rituals, our grief, it doesn't fit, so they're editing it, not with noise, with silence, with reversal, with folding the words back into the breath that carried them. A man came to the station earlier today. He didn't knock, just stood outside the glass door with his hands open, palms up, like he was offering something. I didn't go out to meet him. I just watched from the booth. His lips were moving. At first I thought he was praying, but the words didn't line up. It was like his mouth was moving in reverse, like someone had hit rewind. I couldn't hear him, not really, but every now and then I could see the sound in the way the birds stopped singing. The air around him shimmered just faintly like heat off pavement. Eventually, he walked away. Not hurried, not lost, just done. There's a theory in old theology, not one you'll find in any church not anymore, that prayer is a kind of key, that when done right, with the right voice, in the right place, it unlocks something. Not heaven, not forgiveness, just a door. What if these people, these broken, terrified people trying to speak into silence, are turning the key the wrong way? What if all our words have been stored, cataloged, sifted through, and what we thought were invocations were actually commands? What if we called something down, and now it's answering in kind? I don't pray anymore. Not because I don't want to, because I don't trust the words to mean what they used to. I speak into this mic instead. Maybe that's its own kind of prayer. Less sacred, more desperate, but honest. Unpolished. Human. If you're still praying, I'm not telling you to stop. But be careful. Listen to the echo. Watch the air. If the words come back wrong, if they come back at all, don't repeat them. Don't finish the sentence. Just go still, and don't ask for salvation from something that's already decided we don't deserve to be saved. I haven't seen birds in 2 days. That's how I mark time now. Not with clocks, not with broadcasts, but with absence. No flocks cutting across the sky, no crow calls, no beating wings, just empty branches and the wind pretending to fill in the silence. Something's changed. Again. Something more. Physical. The white rain, the hovering lights, the voice audits, they all felt like precursors, like the opening act of some divine recalibration. But now the system's sending something else. Something with shape, form, purpose. I saw them this morning. Or it might have been yesterday. times fraying at the edges again. But I saw them. Not up close, not yet, but close enough. They don't look like angels, not in the way we were taught to imagine. No wings, no trumpets, nothing warm or golden. They're tall, too tall, thin like antennae, but not fragile. The first one I saw was standing at the edge of the station lot, right where the concrete meets the grass. I didn't hear it arrive, it didn't announce itself. It just stood there, arms at its sides, face turned toward the building. Or maybe it didn't have a face. I couldn't tell. It's like my eyes kept sliding off it, like it was never fully there, like it was still deciding how to be seen. It didn't move for a long time, just observed, and I swear, though I can't prove it, it was measuring, not with devices or beams, with stillness, with presence, like my existence was being calculated by the rate of my breath. Then it walked away, didn't vanish, didn't rise into the sky, just turned and walked down the street with steps too smooth, too deliberate, like someone pressing play on a perfect simulation of a body. And it wasn't alone. Others have seen them too. A woman called in, breathless, from her front closet. Said one of them was in her yard, moving among her family like they weren't even there. Not hurting them, not touching, just observing. She said her brother stood still while it passed, eyes wide, but not afraid. She whispered, "It looked at him, and then he was part of it." I asked what that meant. She couldn't explain. Just that he stopped being separate, stopped being other. He wasn't gone, not exactly. He just wasn't there anymore. I've started calling them the reclaimers. That's what they feel like. Not soldiers, not punishers, more like curators, sent down to collect pieces that still meet the design specs. You see one, and you just know. It's not here for war. It's here to clean. They touch nothing, but things change around them. Voices soften. Dogs go silent. Walls bend with the weight of their proximity, and they never speak. But sometimes, if you listen hard enough, there's this low vibration when they pass. Not mechanical, not musical, just a hum that settles deep in your ribs, like your body's remembering something ancient and trying to comply. There's footage going around, brief clips, usually corrupted, half static. In one, a reclaimer stands at the center of a grocery store, shelves bare, lights flickering. The security camera shows two people in the frame, frozen in mid-step, like mannequins. You can see their faces, relaxed, content even. One of them is smiling, and in the next frame, they're gone. Just gone. No flash, no scream, just removed. People say those who are taken don't resist, that there's something soothing about it, like the reclaimers carry silence with them, the kind that makes your fear feel unnecessary, the kind that says, "Shh, this will be over soon." I keep waiting for one to come here, to walk into the lot again, open the station door, step inside, and reach for me. I've imagined it. I wonder if it would hurt, if I'd even notice, or if I'd just become still, like the others, like the dog in the backyard, like the woman staring out her kitchen window long after the glass has turned to nothing. I try to hold on to the sharp things, the sound of my own voice, the scrape of pen on paper, the chill of my coffee gone cold. I say my name out loud every few hours, just to make sure it still has meaning. I am Cal. I am Cal. I am Cal. And I am still separate. For now, but the reclaimers are here, and they're patient. So, if you're listening, if you see one, don't run. It won't help. Don't speak. They don't need language. Just keep your distance. Not out of fear, out of memory, because the second you start forgetting what you are, they'll help you finish the job. I can feel it happening now. The forgetting. It started slow, harmless even. I'd misplace a word here or there, get the sequence of past events a little scrambled. But now I'm losing full days, entire thoughts. Names I've said 1,000 times just dissolve the moment I try to hold on to them. I write things down, and when I come back to the page, the words have blurred or vanished entirely, like the ink itself is being recalled. I've kept notebooks for years, field logs, call summaries, late-night ramblings, pages and pages of voices, trying to stay real. But yesterday I flipped through the oldest one and every single page was blank. Not torn out, not burned, just blank, as if I never wrote in it, as if I never had those thoughts at all. And it's not just mine. Listeners, those who still can speak, are calling in, their voices strained, panicked, apologetic. They forget why they called. They forget where they live. One woman told me. She woke up in her bed, surrounded by photo albums that no longer contained faces, just colorless smudges where people should be. My son's smile used to be crooked, she said. Now I can't remember if he ever had teeth. I didn't know what to say. There's a phrase, memory draft. I read it once in an article about trauma. It means the way our brains fill in blanks after something's been erased, like paper pulled too quickly from a typewriter. The words didn't stick, so the mind scribbles replacements in the margins. And maybe that's what's happening to us now. Not forgetting. Being forgotten, not by ourselves, by the system, the reclaimers, the light. The world doesn't need us to remember. It needs consistency. And we were too unpredictable, too loose. So they're rewriting us, drafting new versions in real time. You can feel it in the way conversations drop out midway, in how someone tells you a story, and 5 minutes later, both of you realize you were never there. The past is being dissolved like salt in water, slow at first, then all at once. I have to check my ID sometimes just to be sure who I am, that I exist beyond the voice in this booth. I opened the personnel file drawer yesterday, something I haven't touched in months, and found my own name twice. Same birth date, same station photo, 2 different file numbers, 2 slightly different bios. In one, I used to work at a newspaper. In the other, I was a teacher. I stared at both, trying to remember which was true, and all I could think was, I don't remember either. I checked my reflection. Still me. I think. And yet, I remember standing in this booth and seeing a reclaimer outside the door. But I also remember a different day. Same sky, same light, when the lot was empty. Same timestamp on both security tapes. 2 versions of a moment. The system trying to decide which to keep. There's something else too, a humming in the walls. It's gotten louder. Not mechanical, not electrical, organic. Like breath, like thought. I don't know if it's the station or if it's coming from inside me. Sometimes, when I speak into the mic, I hear my words echoed back, half a second off, like someone's rehearsing them behind a curtain, testing them for tone, filtering. I think I'm being modeled, duplicated, or maybe already replaced, and I'm the echo that stuck around too long. I found a photo this morning on the floor, bent, water-stained. Me, standing by the tower with 2 others. I don't recognize them. Their faces are faded, soft around the edges. Not blurry, just incomplete. Like they were never fully rendered to begin with. On the back, in my handwriting, it says, "Don't forget this version," but I already had. So I taped it to the console. It's the only thing keeping this version of me grounded. If you're still out there, if you're losing names, places, faces, say them out loud. Even if no one hears you, write them down, bury them in walls, etch them into trees, make copies, leave trails, because this draft we're living in, it's not the first, and it won't be the last, and the next one might not remember us at all. I've always believed that if you can say something, really say it, it means you're still here. That language is the last stronghold of self. Thought turned to form. Noise turned to proof. But that's slipping now, too. I noticed it first when I tried to describe what the reclaimers looked like on air. I opened my mouth and the words I'd used before, tall, thin, faceless, they came out wrong. I stuttered. Not nerves, not confusion, just friction. Like the words didn't fit in my mouth anymore. Like they no longer belonged to me. Then it got worse. Listeners started calling, their voices tangled with hesitation. Not emotion, just an absence of structure. One man tried to explain what happened to his street and ended up saying, "The houses are not forward. Forward. That was the word he used. He couldn't find gone, couldn't say missing, just not forward, and I knew what he meant. That awful familiarity. Like our vocabulary is being chewed away, one definition at a time. There's a weight behind speech now. Like every word costs something. Like each sentence drains something from you. I feel it more and more with every broadcast. My tongue feels too thick. My mouth moves slower than it should. I try to speak plainly, like I always have, but the cadence is gone. The rhythm's gone. I trip over the simplest things, and when I replay the tapes, my voice sounds stretched, filtered, not by the equipment, by something else. The space between the words gets wider each time. I don't remember pausing that much, but the silence shows up anyway. I can't tell if I'm losing language, or if language is losing me. Outside the booth, things have gotten quieter too. Not just sound, but speech. People don't shout anymore, don't yell across parking lots. Even the murmurs have faded. Like everyone's afraid that if they speak too loudly, they'll draw attention. Not from the reclaimers, not even from the lights, but from whatever's listening between the syllables. The system. The force above all of this, rewriting everything we once understood. I passed a group of people huddled around a fire pit yesterday, out by the shell of the diner. They weren't talking, just looking at each other, blinking slowly, nodding like that was enough. Like the idea of dialogue had been replaced by the presence of mutual thought. Like they were already there, already translated into a newer version of connection that didn't require the mess of words. I stayed back, didn't want to interrupt, because I'm still talking, still clinging to this, to speech, to sentences. I talk not because I think it'll stop what's coming, but because it's the only thing keeping me from folding into whatever they're turning us into. But even here, now, I can feel it tugging. Simple things are getting harder. I tried to describe the sky earlier, just the sky, and couldn't find the color. I said gray, then white, then not there, and that last one, it stuck. Because that's what it is. The sky isn't anything anymore. It's just not there. I keep thinking about old languages, dead tongues. How they say when a language dies, it's not just words that vanish. It's ways of seeing the world. The ability to describe the shape of a feeling, the tilt of a certain tree, the exact ache in your bones before rain. We're not just losing communication. We're losing comprehension. There's a stack of old dictionaries here in the station. I used to love flipping through them when things were slow. Now, when I open them, half the pages are blank. The definitions have gone pale. Some of the words don't even have letters anymore, just shadows of meaning, as if they've been rubbed out from the bottom up. And when I try to write something new, it doesn't stick. The pen moves, but the ink stutters. Sentences start strong and then veer off into symbols, shapes that almost mean something but don't quite land. Like my mind remembers the rhythm of language, but the pieces it needs are gone. If you're hearing this, and you can still speak, say something. Anything. Out loud. Doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter how. Whisper it if you have to. Write it on your walls. Record it. Because the moment we stop expressing, the moment we stop even trying, that's when we're gone. That's when the system finishes the translation, and we become something else. Something's wrong with my voice. I mean, not just the slowness, the lost words, the dragging pauses that creep in more often now, but the sound itself. I caught a replay of last night's broadcast. I don't usually listen to myself anymore. It's hard hearing the decay, but I let it run, and there was this moment around the 30-minute mark where I said my name, and it didn't sound like me, not just aged or worn. It was off, like someone else trying to imitate me through a broken speaker, too clean in places, too muffled in others, a perfect imperfection if that makes any sense. The cadence was mine, but the presence behind it wasn't. It felt like a performance, a placeholder. That's when I realized they're not just erasing us, they're replacing us, bit by bit. The voice is the last step. It makes sense in a way. Speech was the first thing we had. Long before we built cities, before we wrote laws or lit fires or drew maps, we had voices. We shouted into caves and across plains, told stories around flames, warned, wept, sang. Voice was always the root, the proof that there was a person behind the sound. So, of course, that's what they're going to take last. I've been catching myself repeating things lately. Little loops. I'll say a sentence, then realize I've already said it 5 minutes earlier, word for word. It's not just memory loss anymore. It's as if the system is running diagnostics on me, testing lines, seeing how long I'll hold on to my own phrasing before it inserts its own, before it swaps me out entirely. I can feel the resistance slipping. Earlier, today, I tried to describe a memory, just a simple one, from a road trip years ago, and it came out wrong. Not the events, the emotion. I said it was peaceful, but I know it wasn't. It was lonely. There was a storm. But the word that came out of my mouth was content. That's not mine. That was fed to me. I think they're already in the syntax, the sentence structure, editing the emotional timbre, calibrating what we feel by shifting the words we choose to express it. You don't have to delete someone if you can get them to rewrite themselves, and I'm tired. God, I'm tired in a way I can't describe anymore. Not sleepy, not exhausted, used up. Like I've been speaking through a cracked megaphone for weeks, and the vibrations have worn me down to static. I feel hollow in the chest, like breath goes in, but the sound that comes out belongs to someone else. I wonder if this is what dying feels like. Not all at once, just slowly being overwritten, layer by layer, until the version of you that mattered, your thoughts, your voice, your way of being, gets filed under incompatible. I caught a glimpse of myself in the station glass an hour ago. The booth was dark. The only light was the on-air sign, glowing dull red. I saw my face, and I didn't recognize the shape of my mouth. It was too still, too calm, like it was waiting for the signal to speak again. Not my signal, theirs. So I'm speaking now, while I still can. I don't know how much longer I have. I feel the quiet curling up around my edges, rising from the floorboards, humming from the wires. The reclaimers are closer now. I haven't seen them today, but I don't need to. They don't need to come through the door. They just wait for your voice to go out. And when it does, when you stop making noise, you're ready. So I'm still here, still resisting, with breath, with sound, with the trembling bones of every sentence I manage to drag out of the shrinking dictionary inside my skull. If this is the last thing I say, if this is the final moment before the hand reaches down and switches me off, then let it be this. We tried. That matters. We spoke. That counts, even if no one hears it, even if the sky forgets us, even if the light rewrites the air. I don't know how much longer the signal will hold. The red on-air light still glows, but it's dimmer now, like it's breathing shallow. Everything in here is quiet, except me. And even that's starting to feel like a memory trying to speak itself back into the world. This might be the end. I don't say that with panic or fear. just honesty, the kind that only comes when all the other words have fallen away. When your mouth only has one sentence left and you're choosing it carefully. The hum in the walls has deepened. It's not just in the building anymore. It's inside me, in my bones, in my blood. Every breath vibrates, every thought stutters like it's buffering. I can feel the voice audit waiting, like a hand just above a candle, ready to snuff it out. So, I've made a list. One last inventory. Not of facts or instructions or warnings, just remnants, things that mattered, things I don't want to disappear without being said. There was a song my mother used to hum while she washed dishes. I don't remember the name, but the sound of it still lives somewhere in the shape of my chest. There was a tree outside this station, crooked and half dead, but every spring it bloomed anyway. White blossoms, smelled like rain and dirt and time. There was a caller, her name was Jo, I think, who used to phone in during the graveyard shifts just to tell me what stars she could see from her porch. She said she didn't know their names, only their moods. There was a diner on 4th that always gave free coffee refills, even after it stopped being profitable. The owner said warmth was worth more than margins. There were dogs barking, babies, crying, arguments that ended in laughter, shoes left by the door, keys in the ignition, notes written on fogged mirrors. These things happened. They were real. We were real. Maybe that's what this has always been. Not a resistance, but a record. Not a broadcast, but a eulogy. For us. For what we tried to be. For all the noise we made, beautiful and broken, before they came to correct it. I can't tell if I'm alone now. The signals stopped echoing back. The phones are dead. I think the system finally cut the feedback loop. I'm speaking into a void that doesn't answer anymore. But maybe that's okay. Maybe silence is just the place where all our words finally get to rest. There's a part of me, small, flickering, that wonders if someone, somewhere, far from here, might find this signal later. Not now, not soon, but years from now, centuries, long after the last reclaimer has folded the last name into the last blank space. Maybe they'll hear this voice. Maybe they'll hear you in it too. If that's the case, if someone's listening beyond the clean slate, beyond the correction, I want them to know. We tried, we reached, we broke things, we fixed some, we loved, badly sometimes, gloriously, others, and we spoke. My God, did we speak? I think the light is here now, not outside, not above, inside, soft, calm, like the booth is dissolving into it, like every object is being translated into something smoother. I'm not afraid. I've said all I can. If you're still out there, if your voice still holds weight, use it. Zing, shout, whisper your name to the dark. Remind the air it once carried. A species brave enough to speak even when no one was listening.